The meticulously arranged engagement banquet was taken over by Ethan to celebrate the birthday of his lifesaver. I was isolated in a corner, watching everyone bless Tina. I was pushed by someone unknown, and my forehead hit the corner of the table, drawing blood. Ethan shielded Tina's eyes and said to me, "You did that on purpose, didn't you? Don't you know Tina faints at the sight of blood? You just had to cause trouble at the happiest moment." Tina grabbed Ethan's hand and generously suggested, "Then let's punish Sister Lena by smearing her with cream." Allergic to cream, I was covered in it from head to toe. Ethan was only afraid that the woman in his arms would see the blood on my face, and despite knowing my allergy, he did nothing to stop it. Utterly disappointed, I called my mother. "Last time you introduced me to a blind date, I was quite satisfied. Let's choose an auspicious day to get engaged." As soon as Tina finished speaking, a group of people started smearing cream on my wound and face. Within a second, my skin began to heat up and itch. I shouted, "Stop, I'm allergic to cream." Before my eyes were covered with cream, I looked to Ethan for help, knowing he was aware of my allergy. But he only glanced over briefly before turning his full attention back to Tina, shielding her eyes as if afraid she would see my blood. A lump of cream was stuffed into my mouth. My heart sank in that moment. I wiped the cream off my eyelashes with my sleeve, spat out the cream in my mouth, pushed through the crowd, and rushed to the bathroom to wash off all the cream from my skin and rinse my mouth. Hearing voices at the door, I didn't want anyone to see me in my current disheveled state, so I hid in a toilet stall. Tina and Ethan are simply a match made in heaven, did you see that? That diamond ring is as big as a pigeon's egg. If a man gave me such an expensive gift, I would be over the moon. Yes, it's such a pity that a bad apple showed up. The one who was smeared with cream just now is said to be a gold digger. If Ethan hadn't notified the hotel in advance to redecorate, Tina's birthday party would have been ruined by her turning it into her and Ethan's engagement banquet. Ethan is really too indulgent. Listening to this conversation, I mockingly tugged at the corner of my mouth. So, he outwardly agrees with others saying this about me? My phone vibrated in my pocket, and I saw Tina's latest post, a picture of a diamond ring with the caption, "You are enough." Ethan was the first to like it. Seeing this, my body slowly lost all strength. My heart ached. This wasn't the first time Ethan had publicly embarrassed me for Tina. When we were kids, I saved Ethan from drowning, and he swore to me, "You saved my life. From today on, I will work hard to make money, and when I become a big boss, I will definitely marry you, make you my beautiful wife, protect you, and never let you suffer any grievances." Later, he did take good care of me and never let me suffer any grievances. However, after he was saved by Tina in a car accident, everything changed. The person he wanted to protect had become someone else. When I came out, I saw the custom cake I had ordered lying in the blue trash can at the door. The two little figures on top had melted, covering the words, "Lena loves Ethan." So, the cake was thrown into the trash before it could even reach me, just like my love worthless. The staff saw that I was covered in red rashes and my mouth was swollen like a sausage, fearing something serious might happen, so they had someone drive me to the emergency room. Late at night, I returned home to find Ethan sitting on the sofa. Seeing me, he frowned and said, "You didn't tell me you were going out today, and now you're back so late. Do you even care about this family? You made me worry about you, waiting for 3 hours. You're a woman who can't do anything. Without me, could you even survive to old age?" He said it so righteously. On my phone, apart from the message he sent me this morning telling me not to be absent, there wasn't a single call or text until now. What kind of worry is that? I calmly said, "I just saw you and Tina walking side by side into the neighborhood." Seeing that I had exposed his lie, Ethan defensively said, "Lena, how many times have I told you, there's nothing between Tina and me. She's just my lifesaver, and I'm repaying her kindness. Can you stop making a fuss?" Then, with a heavier tone, he said, "Don't follow me next time." Having just had an injection, I was tired and weakly uttered, "Oh. What's with that tone? What's with that attitude?" Ethan seemed displeased with my response. He was used to me acting like a shrew, questioning him about his relationship with Tina and demanding clarity. Seeing that I was silent, which was different from usual, he glanced at my exposed skin. He paused for a moment. You're having an allergic reaction? Yes. A flicker of struggle passed through his eyes, and he said, you were so careless. I'll get the medicine for you to apply. At that moment, his phone rang. His tone became tense. Don't be afraid, find a high place to sit, I'll be right there. Ethan took the call and left without even looking at me. I sighed and searched the house for the medicine kit myself. In the past, whenever I was injured, Ethan would be the first to take care of me. I never had to do it myself. He also took care of everything at home, doing the laundry, cooking, and all the housework. Now, the table was covered in dust, untouched, and the kitchen hadn't been used in a long time. I wondered if I could survive to old age without him by my side. I didn't find the medicine kit, but I did uncover some old items. There were love letters Ethan and I wrote to each other in high school. I opened them one by one and read their contents, memories flooding back. I cried and laughed, occasionally muttering, idiot. So childish. Those were the happiest and most blissful times of my life. Now, my heart has grown cold, and there's no going back. As I reached the bottom, a photo fell out. It was a picture of Ethan and me together. My ankle was in a cast, and Ethan was carrying me on his back. I was smiling triumphantly, and he was grinning widely, showing 8 teeth. In a daze, my thoughts drifted back to the past with the photo. I remember we were in class when an earthquake struck the school, and we all rushed out to escape. I was pushed to the ground and stepped on, fracturing my foot. Fortunately, the earthquake only lasted a dozen seconds, and the school building was earthquake-resistant, so it didn't collapse. Everyone was rushing out, but Ethan ignored the teacher's attempts to stop him and found me. He held me, his body and voice trembling. I don't know what my life would be like without you. It would be colorless. At that moment, I was so moved that I thought, this is the man for me for life. The beliefs I once held are now crumbling. After reading all this, I still cried my heart out, but I felt much better afterward. It wasn't as painful as before. Instead, I had made up my mind about something. I threw the items into a plastic bag and checked my phone. It was already 5 a.m. A pinned post from Tina last night popped up. Thank you, Big Boss, for helping me chase away the cockroach and taking care of my fragile heart, being my human heater to provide a sense of security. The picture was a selfie of Tina sleeping in a man's arms. At a glance, I could tell the man holding her was Ethan. My phone vibrated again. Tina had posted another update, so hungry, exhausted from last night. Kicked the Big Boss awake to buy me breakfast. After reading it, I turned off my phone, and Ethan sent me a message. Worked overtime too long last night, so hungry. Honey, can you get me set meal 2 from Chen's? Leave it at the security guard, I'll pick it up when I'm done. Heh. Seeing this message, I couldn't help but laugh in anger. Men's lies are getting more and more illogical. I directly opened the delivery app and ordered someone to queue up and buy set meal 2 to be delivered to room 1088. Room 1088 is in the next building, the apartment Ethan rented for Tina. Still fuming, I tipped the delivery person extra to help me with a task when delivering. I called my mother. Last time you introduced me to a blind date, I was quite satisfied. Let's choose an auspicious day to get engaged. My mother happily said, Darling, you're not tricking me, are you? I said, I'm not tricking you. I'm 30 years old, I don't want to wait anymore. I want to find a good man to marry soon. Yes, I waited for Ethan for over a decade, waiting for him to fulfill his childhood promise to marry me once he made a lot of money. But now, I don't want to wait anymore. Seeing that I had made up my mind, my mother said, Then hurry up and finish your work there and come back to City A. I'll arrange everything for you clearly. After hanging up, I found the chat page with my relatives and friends. The chat was still on yesterday's discussion about why the engagement banquet was cancelled. I typed a message and sent it. The engagement banquet has been rescheduled. I'll let you know the specific date once it's confirmed. As I was packing my belongings at home and going downstairs to throw out the trash, Ethan, with red eyes, pulled Tina along and yelled at me, "Lena, how did Tina offend you? Why did you insult her like this? Apologize to me." I raised my eyelids, glanced at their interlocked fingers, and chuckled. Seeing me staring at their hands, Ethan let go of Tina's hand. Tina was stunned for a second but didn't give up. She stepped forward to hold Ethan's arm, wiping her tears with one hand, and said, "Brother Ethan, don't blame Sister Lena. It's my fault for being timid and asking you to accompany me for the night. It's normal for Sister Lena to be jealous. If anyone should apologize, it's me." Her pretentious behavior made me roll my eyes. Tina cried even harder. I hadn't done anything, yet Ethan slapped me. Ethan's tone was full of anger. "Lena, Tina is still a young girl. Why are you being so harsh on her? At your age, do you even deserve to be jealous? You scared her, apologize." I covered my stinging cheek, seeing shock in his eyes. This was the first time Ethan had hit me. Perhaps he realized he had overreacted, his raised hand froze in midair but then forcefully lowered. I noticed this detail. I looked at him coldly and said, "I did nothing wrong, why should I apologize?" Ethan said, "Why did you have the delivery person say Tina is a mistress? I didn't know you were so jealous. It seems I've spoiled you too much. From today on, you're not allowed to use my card anymore. Stay at home and reflect on where you went wrong." I laughed mockingly, my eyes full of disdain. "If she's not the mistress, am I? You slept holding her last night, what's wrong with me venting a little?" Tina tried to explain, "Don't misunderstand, we didn't do anything. I was just too scared, I'm afraid of cockroaches. Besides, it's not clear who the mistress is." You cling to brother Ethan relentlessly. Have you ever considered his feelings? Your suffocating love makes it difficult for him. You don't have a proper job, you have a bad temper, and you make brother Ethan do everything. You're just after his money, unlike me, who only cares about him as a person. Tina's eyes were full of love for Ethan, and he didn't refute her words, which meant he agreed with her. Just like those people outside who shamelessly talk about me, he agrees with them too. I took a deep breath, clenched my clothes, and asked Ethan, "Do you think what she said is true?" Without any hesitation, Ethan immediately said, "Isn't it? You have a bad temper, you can't do anything, and I earn the money to support you. You live comfortably off me, what are you dissatisfied with?" I didn't get angry, instead, I smiled brightly and said, "Yes, you're right, that's me. So, I won't apologize for what you just said, ever." After saying that, ignoring Ethan's darkened face, I turned and left. My luggage was already at the security booth, and my flight was booked. 3 days later, my engagement banquet began, but Ethan called to question me, "You're still playing this running away from home game? If you have the guts, never come back. A home without affection, what's the point of going back?" After returning, I was so busy that I quickly forgot about Ethan's issue. After getting engaged to Julian, my mother arranged a travel plan for us, ostensibly to help us build our relationship. It wasn't as awkward as I imagined, instead, I was taken care of in every way, and all I needed to do was to be there. Julian was also very gentlemanly and wouldn't do anything I disliked. Julian's voice came, "Lena, phone call." I was taking a bath, my hands wet, so I said, "Can you answer it for me and say I'm not available?" Coming out with a towel, Julian was waiting with a hairdryer in hand. "What are you standing there for? Come here, I'll help you dry your hair." The man's deep and pleasant voice resonated in my ears, and I blinked, saying, "Okay." As my hair was being dried bit by bit, I asked a bit embarrassedly, "Who was calling just now?" "Just a spam call," he replied, and I didn't ask further. Julian was my neighbor when we were kids, but he went abroad in 6th grade. As a child, I often followed him around asking for lollipops. Unexpectedly, after many years, I became his fiancée. After drying and cleaning up, we each went back to our own rooms to sleep. Julian said, "We can sleep together after the wedding, there's no rush." This eased my uncertainty. The next day, he took me to various tourist spots, and we seemed to rediscover the endless chatter from our childhood. I was playful, and he accompanied me. The unpleasant memories from before were suddenly forgotten. During the trip, I was captivated by a ceramics shop in the town. I said, I want to learn to make ceramics, I want to make lots of princess-style furniture. Julian took me to find an old master, and while I was learning, he stood by my side assisting. I wanted to make money with this craft. After a month of practice, the master told me I could graduate. Just as I was happy, Julian told me, I've opened an online store for you. Now, let's upload your finished products to the shop. Within an hour of listing, several orders came in, which made me ecstatic. This is my first order, I must do it well. I realized I was holding Julian's hand. He looked at me with a warm, sunny smile, and I subconsciously loosened my grip. He then held my fingers tighter, scraped my nose, and said, this is a good start, I'll help you with it. Having been to many high-end places before, I had a keen eye for things and my own design concepts. I drew drafts at night and made several pieces accordingly, with Julian helping me take photos and list them. In my spare time, I was looking at my phone when Tina's account popped up again. I didn't want to look at it initially, but I noticed she had somehow started working at Ethan's company. Clicking in, I saw she was sitting next to Ethan's office, able to see him with a turn of her head. The big boss was afraid I'd be lonely at home, so he found me a job. Scrolling down, there were several posts showing their affection. This reminded me of how I had finally landed a secretary job at a top 500 company. After Ethan started his own company, he persistently asked me to quit and become his secretary. Help me stabilize the company smoothly, and then we can advance our wedding date. Please help me. Ignoring my former colleague's advice, I quit my stable job to help Ethan secure investments and boost performance. My gastritis was caused by frequent socializing and drinking during that time. When I developed acute gastritis from drinking, he was frantic. Holding my hand, he said, Lena, from now on, stay at home, I'll support you. It was because he cared for me and couldn't bear to see me suffer that he persuaded me to quit. But later, it turned into him saying I was a woman who couldn't do anything. I promoted my design works on a recommendation platform, and unexpectedly, they gradually became popular. Unable to handle it alone, I rented a studio and hired a few skilled workers. After the trip, I found myself becoming a small business owner. The studio was running normally without needing my on-site supervision. Julian and I returned to Haicheng to celebrate my mother's birthday. As soon as I got back, my friend asked me out. Lena, Ethan came to City looking for you many times, saying you went on a trip with your fiancé, and he went crazy. Have you two really broken up completely? I was puzzled, what kind of madness could he have? He has his new love, and I have my own good match. Who knows what's wrong with him? It was inexplicable. Suddenly, I was roughly lifted up, and coffee spilled all over me. Lena, there's a limit to your tantrums. Running away from home is one thing, but getting engaged to another man, what do you take me for? I looked up, it was Ethan. After not seeing him for a while, he had grown stubble, which was unusual for someone who was usually so clean. The coffee sticking to me made me uncomfortable, and I said in a bad tone, ex-boyfriend. Ethan angrily said, when did I say we broke up? It was you who inexplicably bullied Tina and then disappeared without a trace. Do you know how hard it was for me to find you? Just because our engagement banquet was cancelled, you're throwing a tantrum until now? I've told you many times, that day was Tina's birthday, we should have celebrated hers first. Our engagement can be held anytime. Come back with me, and I won't hold Tina's matter against you. As long as you swear not to trouble Tina anymore, I'll reschedule and give you a proper engagement banquet. Every 3 sentences were about Tina, which annoyed me to death. I slapped him across the mouth and said with disgust, if you want to be despicable, don't do it in front of me. Ethan, I'm officially telling you today that we've broken up. Whether Tina is wronged or not has nothing to do with me. Also, when you cancelled the plans with our relatives and friends without notifying me, weren't you indirectly disapproving of our marriage? My mother showed me the text Ethan sent her at the time. Lena thinks the date isn't good and plans to choose another one. The engagement day is cancelled for now, and the hotel booking is also withdrawn. My mother thought it was my idea, so she didn't ask me further, and others didn't dare to ask, only inquiring about the date. It was clearly his fault, but he blamed it on me. Instead, Ethan said to me with red eyes, "Lena, he's not good. Is there any man in the world who treats you as well as I do? I also found out that you opened a ceramics shop online. After leaving me, you're forced to make money, you're just a means for him to make money, do you understand?" I had no interest in listening to him and struggled to break free from his grip. Ethan, however, was determined to pull me out. "I must take you away today, I can't let you be deceived. Are you sick? Let me go." My friend tried to help from the side but was pushed to the ground by Ethan. I looked at my friend with concern. I felt someone running over, and the next second, Ethan was pulled aside and punched, caught off guard, and fell to the ground. Julian pulled me up, placed his hands on my shoulders, checked me up and down, his face full of worry. "Are you okay? Didn't Julian say he was going to work today?" Seeing him in a suit and tie, I was momentarily stunned and lost in thought. When I realized I was being infatuated, my face immediately turned red. I whispered, "I'm fine." "How did you get here? Won't your boss deduct your salary?" Julian was amused. "Even if they do, it's worth it. I was working nearby and saw you being bullied, nothing is more important than you." I pursed my lips to hold back a smile as he pulled me behind him. Julian looked at Ethan with cold eyes. "What kind of riffraff dares to touch my wife? I don't care what relationship you had with Lena before, but you'd better disappear from my sight immediately, or don't blame me for not recognizing you with my fists." Ethan stood up to fight Julian but was quickly knocked down again. "Lena, are you really going to watch me get beaten?" Unable to struggle, Ethan shouted at me. Julian looked at me with a wronged expression. I curled my lips and said to him, "Well done." Seeing the man's happy look because of the praise, my mood suddenly improved. Ethan saw the way I looked at Julian, and his face turned green with anger. Later, Ethan was called away by a phone call, seemingly because something big happened at the company. At that moment, I noticed a group of people in black clothes standing outside the door. Only then did I learn that Julian was actually the CEO of a large conglomerate. Someone said aggrievedly, "You only found out now? I gave you that black card to spend limitlessly. Now that you know, don't worry about spending money, I have plenty." Thinking back to how, despite being so busy, he humbled himself to knead clay with me, personally helped me set up the shop, and accompanied me shopping. My once quiet heart blossomed at that moment, surrounded by countless pink bubbles. On the night of my mother's birthday, she held my hand and talked about the past. She said, "I didn't oppose you and Ethan at first, but after so many years, dragging you to 30 without firmly marrying you, I thought he wasn't good enough. After Julian returned to the country, he kept asking me about you. Knowing you had a boyfriend, he silently followed you for many years without any female companions. I was afraid you'd miss out on a real man, so I arranged the blind date for you. From then on, we lived together in tacit understanding. He took me to meet his parents, and the employees at the company would call me boss's wife when they saw me. Life passed peacefully. On my birthday, Julian carefully selected a haute couture dress for me and booked an entire amusement park for fireworks. On the tall building, it read "Happy Birthday, Lena," signed by Julian. When his name appeared, it caused a stir online. "My goodness, the iron tree has blossomed. The official announcement is that she's the fiancé, so happy, envious." That day, with family and friends blessing me, no one played pranks with cream, it was my happiest moment. Julian gave me $1 million crown to wear on my head. "Today, you are the princess, hurry and make a wish." The environment was beautifully decorated with flowers, as if I were truly a princess living on a flower island. The moment I made my wish and opened my eyes, brilliant fireworks burst before me, reminding me of my childhood dream, to be a romantic little princess. Tonight, that dream came true. Julian and I interlocked our fingers, and he leaned down to give me a light kiss on the forehead. When I opened my eyes, I noticed a man in the corner looking dejectedly towards us. Our eyes met as Ethan got out of the car and came straight towards me, holding flowers. I withdrew my gaze without paying much attention. He spoke to himself. Lena, during the days you were gone, I realized my life turned gray, without color. I know you've always minded my relationship with Tina. I've sent her away. Can you come back, please? I gave her some money as repayment for saving my life. I can't live without you. When I found out you burned all our love letters, it felt like a piece of my heart was missing. Lena, happy birthday. This cake is handmade by me, without cream. He went on to say a lot more, but I responded as if dealing with it perfunctorily with one word, oh. Ethan's throat seemed to lose its voice instantly. I held Julian's arm and thanked Ethan. I'm glad you could come to my birthday celebration yourself. There are self-service desserts and a cream-free cake that Julian ordered for me over there. There are too many friends here, so I can't entertain everyone individually, please understand. After saying that, I ignored Ethan and lifted my skirt to leave, but my wrist was grabbed by the man. Lena, stop right there. Didn't you always want to marry me? If you come back with me today, we'll get the certificate immediately, announce it to the world, and give you a grand wedding. Didn't you prepare for our wedding for a long time, afraid that you'd gain weight and not fit into the wedding dress? I don't believe that you, who loved me so much for so many years, would suddenly be with a stranger. I begged you like this, what more do you want? Julian removed Ethan's hand from mine and said with an oppressive aura, please have some self-respect. Your girlfriend is waiting for you not far away, and you shamelessly come to snatch my fiancé. Is this how a company boss behaves? Not far away, Tina was standing under a tree with red eyes. I looked at Ethan with a speechless expression. Ethan, don't think so highly of yourself. Yes, Lena, used to like you, but my liking for you has disappeared bit by bit because of you, leaving nothing but emptiness. Ethan, I don't love you anymore. A flash of pain crossed Ethan's eyes. No, I don't believe it. Today is my birthday, and I didn't want things to get out of hand, but unexpectedly, Tina ran over and knelt in front of me. Sister Lena, it's all my fault. Don't be angry with brother Ethan, he really loves you. I can withdraw. Please don't make him so sad anymore. Her pretentious behavior reminded me of when I was smeared with cream at her birthday party. I said uncomfortably, there's no need for this. Stop your pretentious acts here. I advise you to leave early. If you push me too far, I might do something unpredictable. The fireworks were over, and I wanted to leave a beautiful memory for tonight, not wanting to argue further. But Tina didn't care. As I turned to leave, she cried and lunged to hug my ankle. If Julian hadn't supported me, I might have fallen. The man beside me said in a low voice, you should be glad you're a woman, otherwise, I would have thrown you out long ago. Julian's tone visibly showed his anger. I pinched his palm and kicked Tina away. Ethan hurriedly helped Tina up and questioned me again. Lena, this has nothing to do with Tina. If you have anything, come at me, why bully her? Brother Ethan, I'm fine. As long as you can reconcile with Sister Lena, I'm okay with anything. The relatives and friends nearby finally couldn't stand it anymore. They all knew how much I had suffered by Ethan's side. They boldly went up to pull Tina away and slapped her face several times. Shameless mistress, daring to cause trouble here. Do you think having Ethan protecting you means you're safe? Ethan protected Tina, and when he turned to speak to me, he saw me with a smile on my lips and cold indifference in my eyes. The words he wanted to say suddenly couldn't come out. It turned into, Lena, I'm sorry, I said, you don't need to apologize to me. Please keep an eye on her in the future and don't let her come to act in front of me all the time, I don't like watching dramas. Under Julian's escort, I got into the car. Ethan chased after me. Lena, I didn't come today to argue with you. I'm begging you to give me a chance, okay? The car drove a distance, and Ethan chasing behind became farther and farther away until he turned into a black dot in the rearview mirror. Once upon a time, my heart no longer beat for Ethan. The once beautiful memories slowly faded away with the appearance of another person. After that day, stories about Tina began circulating online. The video of her kneeling at my birthday banquet was posted online. Some netizens dug up her dark history. My God, if I remember correctly, this woman came from a socialite class. She deliberately bumped into rich people's cars and then pretended to be pitiful. Don't ask me how I know. I've been scammed once, and several friends around me have encountered it too. The video of Tina saving Ethan at the time also circulated. Ethan's car was startled by a large dog that suddenly appeared, and to avoid it, he turned the steering wheel and crashed into a large tree root. After the car accident, Tina appeared, and the dog was wagging its tail following her. Someone also dug up early photos of Tina with the large dog. After Ethan learned about this, he had someone investigate, and indeed, it was a setup. He was furious, drove Tina out, and reported her for fraud. Involving a large sum of money, Tina was sent to prison. Seeing this news, I didn't linger and swiped away. Ethan sent me many apology messages and made many missed calls. When I blocked him, he used other numbers to call. But Ethan's mother managed to call me. Lena, Auntie knows I have no right to call you, but now, Ethan, he hasn't eaten or drunk for several days. He keeps cleaning the house where you two used to live. Just now, he fainted at home and hit his head on the table corner. He's in the hospital now. Auntie begs you, can you go see him? I directly refused. Auntie, Ethan and I are impossible now, and I'm preparing for my wedding. I won't go see him. Sigh, Auntie knows you've been wronged, it's Ethan's fate. Auntie didn't say more and hung up with a sigh. Originally, Ethan's company had some problems, and now that he had collapsed, the company stopped operating for a long time. The internal employees' salaries were reduced repeatedly, and many proposed to resign. On the day of my wedding, Ethan threatened me, Lena, if you marry Julian, I'll jump from the rooftop. My heart was unmoved, I hung up the phone and turned it off. Julian knew Ethan threatened me. He increased the number of people guarding me to prevent anyone from causing trouble. That day, old friends and relatives smoothly witnessed my wedding. Throughout, I was the most eye-catching bride. When Julian put the ring on me, a distant memory came flooding back. It was a summer day, under an osmanthus tree, a little girl with 2 braids chasing a big boy for a lollipop. Brother Julian, give me a lollipop, and when I grow up, I'll be your bride. After hearing the little follower say this, the boy shyly stopped running, peeled the lollipop wrapper, and put it in my mouth. He also said seriously, idiot, don't say such things to other boys casually, or you might be taken away. This video was found by Julian's mother in an old camera and shown to me. So, Julian had also been waiting for me all along. In the spotlight, I stood on tiptoe and gently kissed Julian's lips. He held my waist with his large hands and deepened the kiss amidst the cheers. 6 months later, with a big belly, I sat in a rocking chair basking in the sun. The weather was turning autumnal, and I was knitting a scarf while humming a song. Suddenly, the dog Xiao Fu started barking wildly towards the door, and I looked in the direction of the sound. Ethan was standing at the door, which really startled me. He raised his hands to his chest in panic. Lena, I didn't mean to scare you, I just wanted to see you, He noticed my slightly protruding belly and said with a pale face, you're pregnant? I smoothed my chest and said irritably, yes, I really beg you, stop spying on me. I have my own life, and you have yours. Can you leave me in peace? Ethan was now so thin that his trench coat looked oversized on him. It seemed like a gust of wind could blow him over. He no longer had his former spirited look, his face was so thin that his cheeks were sunken, making him look much older. He looked like someone who had done something wrong and said, I haven't seen you in a long time. I just wanted to see you again in the limited time I have, to remember your appearance clearly. I'm afraid I'll forget you. Belated affection is cheaper than grass, and I began to tire of his appearance. I waved my hand, gathered the knitting, went inside, and closed the door, shutting him out. I don't know how long Ethan stood outside. When Julian came back, he said with a displeased face, the security guards nowadays are getting lax, they let any riffraff in. I soothed him, saying, "Don't be angry, don't bring bad vibes into the house." The man helped me sit on the sofa, leaned his ear against my belly, and started teasing the baby with a smile. Ethan's perspective. When I realized I had lost the woman I loved most, it was already irreversible. I couldn't believe Lena would heartlessly abandon me. I used my body to gamble with her. I didn't eat 3 meals a day, kept drinking, didn't sleep, and immersed myself in the past. Once, whenever I felt a little unwell, Lena would be frantic. She would guard me every moment. Finally, I collapsed. The moment I was carried into the ambulance by the doctors, I thought I saw Lena running towards me. But when I woke up a day later, the person I wanted to see didn't appear. I couldn't believe it, so I begged my mother to call Lena and ask her to come see me. Maybe she didn't know I was ill. My mother called her, and I listened the whole time. She said she was getting married and didn't want to see me. So, I stood on the rooftop and threatened her. I wanted to gamble with my life, thinking Lena would definitely give up marrying that man. She would definitely be anxious to stop me from jumping, even if it meant deceiving me to come down. I was willing. But she didn't care anymore. I still didn't have the courage to jump. I thought that when Lena got tired of playing, she would come back to me. Every day, I searched for information about Lena online, but it was all deleted clean, as if determined to make me forget. So, I secretly hid in the distance, watching her hold hands and walk, go shopping, and many other signs of her life. I spied on Lena's life and found that the two of them were increasingly in love. My heart ached, a wrenching pain every night. The doctor told me I had cancer and didn't have much time left. I was tormented by cancer, unable to get out of bed, wishing for death. Relying on willpower, I wanted to see her one last time. The moment I saw she was pregnant, I felt completely frozen. Her eyes showed disdain for me. There was truly no place for me in her heart. All the strength in my body seemed drained. I leaned against the tree trunk, forcing myself not to collapse. Until the man returned, and Lena didn't even come out to look at me. I knew that in this lifetime, there was really no chance left.